Miss Mona, si Mighty Magulang
I
herself.
usually got cats off the road. It was actually the Spanish who started using the dogs as a way to scare people. There's this talk of the flooding in Metro Manila, right? And they say that it is rooted in corruption. It was an annoying feeling that I want to do something else than make companies rich. They were sacrificed for the sake of colonizing the islands.
No way that dogs are here for us to be cruel with.
Very admirable advocacy, animal welfare.
How can you fight impunity in terms of...
Cats are territorial. Kapag inalis nyo yan dyan, bibigyan ko lang kayo ng 3 linggo.
When I saw you, parang inisip, bakit yung mga kabina? Saan galing si Miss Rina?
Yeah, so how do you think animal welfare advocates can use history, or in your case like TikTok, to not, sometimes kasi it's like they're hecklers already, or I'm really not happy with that, because it just gets you angry, or it makes you sad, awa. But what is achieved by that? In your case, like when I watch it, I'm interested in what you have to say, not only because you're in front of me, but because you connect it to not only a family, a personality. It's not just what happened. It's the person behind that made the decisions. Like I was very interested about the Tejeros convention. I also watched that. So how would you advise for animal welfare, for TikTok? What would you, or you were saying you just did one TikTok thing, and then before you knew it was like 100,000 followers, right? And people were advising you, it's too long, it's too blah, but you didn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
You believed in what you had to do.
And that's exactly the approach that I would recommend for advocates. Because our message, our what we need to say is sometimes not very sexy. It's not very TikTok. And TikTok, you have to be 8 seconds or less, they said. But I know I won't be able to tell my story in 8 seconds. So I just went down that road. And when I do so with compassion for the fact that not everyone may have heard this before, or somebody will troll me for what I just said, it all comes down to just staying the course, because you can't make everybody agree with you. You cannot change how people act, but you can change how you react, right? So you can manage that. And in my case, I do my thing, 3 minutes, and now we are at a point in TikTok's algorithm where they are pushing up videos longer than a minute.
Oh, okay.
So it's getting, they want educational content. So we are filling a gap that wasn't there before, whether it is public speaking or how to fix things around the house. There are more of that type of content on TikTok today because there is a gap that needs to be filled, and people want to see that kind of content.
They probably didn't even know there was that gap until it happened.
Until they saw the traction in other people who didn't go for what the algorithm was calling for, right? So it's all about that as I guess sense of self. Now you know what you want, and you know the kind of message you want to give. And when it comes to people who are not going to agree with you, or worse, they're going to try to disparage you, they will exist.
Oh, for sure.
Cannot be bothered by that. You all have to have that attitude that this ecosystem, this digital ecosystem, is really like that now. And I always talk to young kids, even adults, about digital literacy, because we should not give air to this kind of attitude, I always tell people, block, hide, delete, report. You do whatever you can in the system so that these guys don't get much air. Don't angry watch. I have a lot of people who use my content. They make it a green screen and then they disparage me.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Oh yeah, they do that, and I just tell people don't watch it, because the more people watch that video, he will do it again.
Yes.
He benefits from that. So, and on the side, of course, I will report it. I will claim IP rights,
Yes,
kasi they're
correct.
using my image without my consent, all of that. So it's a matter of knowing how the platform works, and also having that sense of self where stay your path and don't be bothered by all of these negativities.
Yeah, and don't react.
Exactly. Toxicity shouldn't be rewarded.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Have you had positive feedback where people say, I rediscovered my roots. I rediscovered, and I'm sure that's a big blessing, because we have short memories. Many people don't even remember their grandparents.
True, especially Filipinos. And I have had a lot of that. I am also very happy that the people who run FamilySearch.org, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, at some point, because they have this massive collection, right,
Correct.
of primary records that they've digitized over the years. And because of the Data Privacy Act, it was kept only for members of the church. But this year, they opened it up to the public. So up to a certain year, I can't remember if it's like somewhere between 60 and 80 years. So now a lot of people are able to go in, not just look at digitized or annotated records, but their records themselves. So if they want to see the baptismal record of their great-grandparents, they could see it, like the record in cursive. And there's a lot of excitement around that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
My husband did something similar for UST library, Father Aparicio, where he was working for a bank, and he got the bank to sponsor not only the restoration but also to do the archives, because so that digitize everything.
Yeah, the Benavides Library also opened it up this year.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah.
And that's also another one of my advocacies. I think we have to democratize historical information and historical primary records. Because if people are able to see for themselves, not have to go through an archivist, make a request, fill out a form, if they are able to go online and see the records themselves, they are able to appreciate our history better.
But
I think
people
that's
don't read now.
sad, but there
are a few
there
of
might
us.
be some who might be interested in that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I always I was told that as well. But if you go to the Manila Book Fair, for example, the top sellers, the best sellers usually are all history books. So it's interesting that sure, young people don't read, they're on their phones most of the time, but there is a market for history books, and they read a lot.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great news.
Also, this year at the Frankfurt Book Fair, they are featuring Filipino books.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna give you this book called mga walang pangalan pero andiyan. It's from the publishing house of my good friend Marina Cruz and Rodel Tapaya. They have a small publishing house and they do comic style stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they've also
Excited.
been on the podcast because their advocacy is human adoption. So we tied it in to our own adoption because we also do adoptions. Your name is Mighty Magulang. That's your screen name.
Yes, my moniker online.
Yon, okay. So it comes from being a parent and an advocate for history? What is
Actually,
it? What's an advocate for what?
I have used that term when my son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum, because I was online. I was writing blogs back when it was GeoCities and Tripod and Homestead, all of the old servers where you have to manually type your website in HTML. So back then, I said, me and my husband said we are not going to be victims to our situation. Yeah, sure, our son is on the autism spectrum, but we will be empowered, educated parents to give him the best possible life. And that's how Mighty Magulang started. When I was creating my platform for TikTok, I didn't want to have to invent another name. I didn't want to use my name. So I still used Mighty Magulang because I think that's pretty much me. And I was also very cognizant of the fact that I don't want to be called a historian, because I respect those who actually go into history as an undergrad. They do their masters, they
Correct.
write books, they teach all of that. I am not like that. I am a business major. My master's is in applied business economics. So far removed from all of that. So coming in, I just want people to know that I am passionate about history. I am a genealogist, but if anything, I am a public historian, not a trained
Well,
historian. And
maybe that's why it makes it more interesting, because you're coming in from a different.
yes, I don't have that academic feel, although I am a
sometimes
talking
can be,
head.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. But then sometimes it can also be above the heads of.
yeah.
Sometimes
And-
we need those, but
Yeah. And another thing I think that historians tend to have, they already have opinions and interpretations ready from the years of writing thesis and papers on historical events. They already are coming in with opinions on why this is so relevant. And for me, it is primarily about presenting the base data. So it's a lot of facts. And towards the end is when I give my my insight on what this all means. But I only share the facts. So that's, I think, the difference between us and many of the long form historians. And also, I only have like 2-3 minutes to make my point. There's really not a lot of time for blah blah.
But bite size is what I think what our
Yeah.
generation needs also right
That's
now,
true.
and you never know who's gonna, be interested in and delve into it themselves.
I say that, history TikToks are like snacks or appetizers,
Yeah.
whatever. If you are, in the mood for the full meal, I am hoping that they will look for more books or more primary data on the topic so they can delve into it more.
Yeah, you did one on Senate Risa Ontiveros' family. That was amazing. So again, another, I think, DNA passed down, knowing that, all her relatives
Yeah.
had something to do.
And she had very strong women in her family. That's not just the people who are still alive now, but even in her maybe I did not delve into that more, but she did have strong women in her family.
And
Talk about being passed.
Elena, her daughter, is a very much a meow meow.
Correct.
Very much a
Correct.
meow meow. They came to our Kapon anniversary last year.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
And her tita is one of the
Correct, the founders of
PAWS.
PAWS. So it's an amazing thing. I think Filipina women, I mean, all women are strong, but Filipina women have this alpha in them sometimes also, right?
It's sad lang that we don't have enough data sometimes on our female ancestors. That's one thing that, again, the colonial system kind of erased. Back before Spain, women were warriors. Women could be leaders. And when the Spanish came, we were relegated to being attached to our children or attached to our...
Very funny because the
husband.
queen Isabella was very
I know,
strong.
right? But in
And she even said, when for the rabies thing, you're not supposed to kill them right away. You're supposed to keep them on the side. observe first, and how to euthanize them, etc. Of course, they didn't follow. I mean, Spain was so far away. We were actually really led from Mexico.
Before the information came here, it would have already been done.
200 years.
But the for women in the grassroots, we were forgotten. A lot of our lolas are forgotten. When you research them, you don't get a lot of data unless your lola was outstanding. Unless your lola, inherited land and she all of a sudden became the tender, she all of a sudden tended to the farms and all of that.
I'm gonna see if I have extra copies. Do you have the book of Lumina Pandit?
I don't have that yet.
I will send you. It's 2 volumes, and my husband wanted only good stuff, things that we can be proud of. And in one of them was a woman who owned property in Tondo, and she sold the property in Tondo, and it's on a copper plate. Inscribed.
Okay, yeah.
And so women, like you said, back then they could, even before the Spanish, right? So it was very interesting to know that, like, the fire piston was made by Filipinos. So I'll send you that book. It's a really, really good book.
Another thing that people think, women were relegated to the home. We were during like the Spanish period and all of that, the American period. But no, we actually had women who were working like in cigarette factories. That industry was supported by women who were harvesting, who were rolling, who were all of that.
Absolutely. My grandmother had fishing boats.
Exactly.
So very interesting. So for a last question, you often talk about what we pass down to the next generation, right? For us, it's not just about heritage. It's also whether our children will inherit rabies-free Philippines, which we've been trying to catch. Our hashtag is stray-free, rabies-free Philippines 2035. And that's been a moving date since Kopong-Kopong, right? The lack of will. Somebody got interviewed by the thesis students of, Hannah, what was the name of that school? No, the college. Yesterday, the interview. That's University East Caloocan. And their thesis was on animal welfare, and they were asking about laws. I was telling them about the laws. I said, can we make the laws stronger? I said, you can make the laws stronger as much as you want. But the implementation, then in Spanish we would say, ¿a qué quedamos? Right? Where do we then lie? So we're really good at presentations. But in the execution, that's where, so I don't know if it's, the Latin word amor proprio, which is actually pride, but the proper kind of pride. Not the humbug, kind of pride, but the proper kind of pride where you execute, you have a critical thinking, then you make a plan, and then you find a way to execute that plan. And even if you hit a few brick walls, you either dig under them, go around them, or go over them, depending, to have this energy to do something.
I've been asked so many of these deep questions also by young people, like, how do we fix corruption? How do we do this? How do we fix systemic things in our environment? And I come back to that sense of connection to the past. When our ancestors were, in the middle of colonialism, they were in poverty, they were in revolution, they were in war, they were praying for our generation. They were praying that we will be able to, govern ourselves. They were praying that we would have a better life. We would pray that, I'm sure they would pray for riches for their descendants. So when you look at your life today in that context, I've said this many times. We are the answers to the prayers of our ancestors. And if you look at your life in that context, parang yun yung mahiya ka naman moment mo na so many people sacrificed for you. And it seems that the only way to live is to honor that kind of sacrifice. So whatever you do, whether you are a student, whether you are in government, whether you are, a housewife, you should live your life that would be honest, that would make, that there has to be a sense of excellence, all of those positive
Sense of excellence.
that values that people should have, na parang you have to give more of yourself kasi that is what is expected of you, and that is what your ancestors prayed for. You are in this space, you have privilege, you have to do better. It all comes down to that. Be a little bit more, be a little bit extra, because that is what your ancestors prayed for.
So I think we should name this podcast. You are what your ancestors. You are the full. What did you say? You said
We
it.
are the answers to our ancestors' prayers.
I think that's what we have to name this podcast. It's like me, sometimes I rescue myself. I mean, in fact, this is all swollen now from a kitten that I rescued, because even if she dug her nails and her teeth in me, I just didn't let her go. And I threw her into the car and slammed the door, right? And I remember because the driver of my husband is Ilonggo, right? Very mahinahon, very, this and that, and they like to dress properly, they're very proud. And we were somewhere in Legazpi village, and the main office then of the bank was there. And I was underneath a car on the street, my whole back underneath, trying to catch a kitten from
Inside a car.
inside the car.
Yeah.
And, I could see him. He froze. Like, right? Then, so we got the kitten. I was, of course, super dirty. Went home, took a bath. And he told our head of security, he's so worried that baka daw one of the executives from the bank would have seen si ma'am under gumugulong-gulong
Sa ilalim ng kotse.
right? And it took a while for them to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing,
Yeah.
And
Yun nga, we have to be extra. That's
extra, di ba?
That's exactly what our ancestors expect of us, considering
Diba?
all they've
Yeah,
sacrificed.
Yeah, and so that's why when I think Doc Jonan and I were talking last night. Yesterday was our 3rd year anniversary, and in 3 years we've probably done more than 150,000 kapons. Okay, what does that mean? The critical thinking there is that's about 8, 10, 15 million kittens and dogs puppies that will not be born to sickness, will not be born on the street, will not be
They will live longer lives.
longer lives, and they won't be victims of whatever, right? So what does that mean for the financial of the LGU? Then they have more. They don't need to make bakuna so much. Not that they do anyway, completely. They don't hit 70%, herd immunity. So that's the way I always present it. Because in a way, I realize that I have to talk money. When you're talking first, you can't run on emotion and stuff like that. But in your podcasts, even if you give the facts, there's an emotion to the fact.
Definitely.
There's an emotion to the fact. It's the first time I hear that Aguinaldo was convinced by other people to have Andres Bonifacio. So what in my mind, I was like, what would that have felt? Him being in his place, and they're from two different paradigms.
Exactly. Another thing that people forget is that Aguinaldo was only 29 when all of this is happening, which is why he was so dependent on his older advisors. He was 29. What were we doing when we were 29?
Oh my gosh.
We were definitely not fighting a revolution. We were definitely not, deciding on things that can mean life or death for other people. So again, that's where the compassion comes in when it comes to looking at historical figures. It's very easy to judge them based on that.
Yes, definitely.
But there's just so much depth.
And I think that's the meat. That's the protein in what you say.
Yeah.
It's really, really super important, because then maybe we can understand ourselves. Because we do have maybe much more minor decisions that we need to make, which is why I was so interested in Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Stay calm and carry on. They were losing the war.
Exactly. And this also trying to understand, it could also apply to our ancestors.
Correct.
Like, why was Mama so matipid? Right? She lived in a war. Why was Lola like this? Why was she mata pobre? Why was she all of those? I actually went down that rabbit hole myself.
It's like me. I'm so I turn off all the water. I try to not flush the toilet. When we had to import aluminum foil, for cooking, and we would wash the aluminum foil again to reuse.
And the kids nowadays would not understand that.
No.
Or maybe they would from an environmental
come see our kitchen waste and you'll figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
No, it's really and I don't know. And I kinda like that. I remember I was 8, 9 years old when my grandfather was an engineer, said, okay, go around go around and start picking up all the nails that were bent and set them straight.
That's a project.
And I had this much, 2 kilos worth of nails that I, one by one, straightened out. And I was very proud of myself.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of...
And when you know of stories of your ancestors, that's when these little things make sense. Okay. Parang there's a little value to it. I look at it with almost fondness when I remember how my lolo would make spoons and forks from cans of fita, right? So parang, okay, because that's how he learned to make his sandok during the war.
Correct.
He would repurpose every metal thing he could find because it was valuable. So those were, it kind of gives you a little bit of maturity also when you look at their lives on that lens.
It's so funny. Also the compassion side of things. I always wondered why my grandfather was, when he spoke to my grandmother's sister, there was always a heaviness to it. Right? He was burdened by it. So they both died, and Tita Nena was older than them, became blind. We were still taking care of her, right? And she would talk, when she would go into her moments, she would talk about swimming in the boulevard.
Dewey? The Dewey. Okay.
Swimming
Manila
there.
Bay.
Yeah, right there. I mean, she was born in 1890 or something. So yeah. Okay. And then when she died, we were preparing all the papers. And because of genealogy and whatever, she wasn't the sister of my grandmother. She wasn't the sister. We then found out that my grandfather, who was the pilot in Iloilo for the boats coming into the bay, was put in jail. One of those katipunero stuff. And while he was in jail, his wife had a child out of wedlock. Then she died. And when he got out of jail, he took this child that's not his, and then remarried and had another 3 sets of children. And
Interesting.
that taught me a lot about who was this man, this great-grandfather of mine, who would take on this basically an orphan,
Yeah.
right?
That must be also a difficult. That was a difficult
and it
thing
explained a lot about why my grandfather,
for him. Dismissive.
yes, and it made me realize that because he's very Edwardian in that sense, right? And I thought to myself, they all went to the grave with that secret, and we had because it was.
They never told you.
They never
Yeah.
told anyone, not my father, not no one. And it was because they were ashamed.
Oh, there's a lot of that. In the work that I do, there are, people who realize that their grandparents or grandfather was a bigamist. And it can, so genealogy can be a gift, but it can also open
A can of worms.
Yeah, that can divide the family.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
So thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do.
It's truly inspiring. I always say that what we do, we're really basically, it's nicer in Spanish, but basically we're planting seeds from which we will never take shade from. But hopefully, again, it's for the young people. And I'm totally always inspired by the youth these days. Of course, they think different. Of course, they have their, they're not as hardy with some things. In fact, that I had once made a comment that yes, some of them because grew up with the toallitas behind their back. So, and here we were like rolling off the sugar, the waste of the sugar. So the pure sugar went one way, and then the waste and the residue went in another. And we would climb as children all the way to the top. That's like a mountain in the azucarera. And we would do backflips all the way down with sugar here. All our openings had sugars, right? Sugar waste. And I really enjoy that time. But the youth now they're much more conscious of what's going on in the world, and I really believe they are our future. So that's why we do what we do for them and for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Yeah.
And I know that in the causes that both of us support, whether it's animal welfare or civic responsibility and history, I know that the youth of today have really taken on the mantle.
Yes.
They are behind us. They are following
and
our path.
I'm very grateful.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Salamat po mga kabiyaya. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. I enjoyed it very much. And patuloy-tuloy lang. You have to find out what you're made of. Give yourself that chance. And contribute your talents to something, whatever it is. And the community will deeply appreciate it. Salamat po.